Hello, how's it going? Tom Maguire. I just want to take the time to review the fantastic audiobook, the Orwell collection, Animal Farm and 1984, performed by Stephen Fry. Absolutely brilliant. So if you don't listen to the rest of this review, it's brilliant. Full stop. It's absolutely great. I think out of I reckon about 200 audiobooks that I've listened to in the last 3 years, probably about 200, roughly. This is possibly the very best one I've listened to. I think this must be a contender for the best audiobook of all time, to be honest. I think not only is that because these are two fantastic books anyway, and don't let bad schooling or bad teachers or any bad experiences put you off these books. They are absolutely fantastic. Read by Stephen Fry in the way he does it, they are just absolutely brilliant. I love these books anyway. I wasn't as familiar with Animal Farm. I read it in school. I have read it since, but not for many, many years. 1984 I read in school, and I've read a few times since because I do quite like it. Well, very much like it. So for me, Animal Farm was kind of a real surprise in a way because I couldn't remember very much of it at all. And it's just such a fantastic story. It's just such a great little fable. It's just kind of so well written and so interestingly done and cleverly done, and I just love the kind of the way you can relate it to kind of political figures through history, and just how thought-provoking it is, the kind of question of human nature and all of that stuff, which I won't bore you with because you've probably been bored already through your GCSEs or going through that stuff. But I'm not going to pull these books apart in that way. But just Stephen Fry just makes it absolutely brilliant. And I know Stephen Fry is quite popular and lots of people rave about him and stuff. And I'm not one of those people who would rave about someone just because they're popular. In fact, if anything, I've said before in the past that popularity kind of puts me off people and books quite often, sometimes quite kind of wrongly, but it can do. But he's just absolutely brilliant. He's also in It's a Sin, which is a really fantastic series that was on recently on telly, by the fantastic Russell T Davies, who seems to do everything fantastically well. Whatever he does, I think, is brilliant. He's just really creative and imaginative, and he's just really good at the stuff he does. It's a Sin is a really sad series. It's about AIDS and how it kind of came into our consciousness in the 80s, and basically just tells the story of these gay guys and people catching AIDS, and it's horrible. It's a fantastic story, but it's really, really sad. And Stephen Fry is in that, and he's fantastic in that. So that's just a bit of an aside. But it's kind of relevant because the public service announcements that we had in the 80s were very Big Brother-esque kind of thing. If you watch them on YouTube, just type in AIDS adverts, so it'll come up. Just really sort of threatening and scary and just sort of dark, and almost this Big Brother is watching you type kind of feeling going through it. But anyway, these are all asides. I've got some fantastic books to review very soon. I haven't actually read this one yet, but I'm reading this one soon. The Wright Brothers, that's one that really appeals to me. An enjoyable, fast-paced tale, said The Economist. The dramatic story behind the legend. I'm really looking forward to that one. So I'm going to read that, and I'll be reviewing that at some point. The Best of A.A. Gill. My wife got me this one for Christmas. I reviewed one of his other ones the other day off the top of my head. Well, I can't remember what the hell it was called now. I'll edit it in afterwards. But I've read a bit of that already. I'm really enjoying that, so I will review that soon as well. And I've also got A Swim in a Pond in the Rain by George Saunders, which is fantastic. So I'll be reviewing that probably next week, middle of next week, towards the end of next week, probably. That's a really, really worthwhile book. But yeah, getting back to this review, I think it's one of the best audiobooks that I've ever listened to. 1984, I just absolutely love 1984. It's just so gloomy and kind of depressing, but sort of exciting and sort of hopeful and just thought-provoking all at the same time. And I just absolutely love 1984. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. I just think the characters of Winston and Julia and God, it's just great. I think the way Stephen Fry narrates it just adds something to it as well. He almost kind of, I don't want to say he modernizes it because that almost sounds as though he's kind of damaging it in some way, but he just sort of does add something to it that I can't quite kind of put my finger on. I think the relationship between Winston and Julia is that much more raunchy, kind of read by Stephen Fry, which sounds a bit weird, but It's kind of, if you watch the film, which actually came out in October 1984, with John Hurt, came out in October 1984 with John Hurt. It's quite kind of, it's very 80s and gloomy and low budget and kind of depressing, and John Hurt manages to make Winston quite kind of gross and depressing and stuff, and the relationship is just a bit like depressing. The way Stephen Fry reads it out, it kind of gives you that excitement of kind of like this secret sort of relationship that's going on, and it does make you very much feel like, my God, if you lived in those conditions, you would just do that and just wait until they caught you, because they're just, the way their life is just absolutely horrendous. So 1984 in general always makes me feel quite kind of grateful, really. We're going through difficult times at the minute, but things can always be that much worse, and you just think about living in that kind of world. In some ways, I know we do live in that kind of world, there's surveillance and stuff, but it doesn't feel as much as it is, perhaps, does it? We at least feel as though we have much more freedom than we actually do, and in 1984 it's very much that kind of totalitarian dictatorship that's literally not allowed to sneeze or look in the wrong direction. It is very, very frightening. So for me, it's a real reminder of how fortunate we are to have the freedoms that we do. Yeah, if I have to say, if you're someone doing, GCSEs, or you're doing these books in school, and if you haven't got time, because I never had time really as a teenager to sit down and read stuff. I should have done, but I didn't. I absolutely love reading nowadays. But when you're a teenager, you're just kind of, you're anxious, you want to be moving, or you want to be doing something rather than just sitting and reading. I used to find it difficult. So I would very much recommend listening to this. You will get as much from listening to this audiobook as you will from reading it, really. I think it's always a bit of a debate as to what's better, reading a book or listening to it. And I suppose if I was pushed, I would say that reading is better, because it's your own voice, it's your own imagination. There's something magical about reading a book, but I do think a good audiobook, well narrated, is really, really good as well. It's a different type of experience. It's a different skill as well, listening, which is just as important, I think. But yeah, it's so good. This Orwell collection is really, really good. It's really worthwhile. I highly recommend this one. I'm not going to say a lot more about it. 1984 and Animal Farm have probably got hundreds of reviews on them. People have dissected them hundreds of times, done them for exams, for the curriculum, for all that sort of boring crap. For me, that just kind of, that ruins the story in some ways, because it just kind of makes it a bit boring when it becomes academic and kind of about sort of getting results. Actually, both of them are hugely relevant, both of them are hugely interesting. If you just have the time, like I did, to just read them, or to listen to them in this case, in your own time, because you want to, because you enjoy it, then it's absolutely fantastic. There's no beating it. So the Orwell collection, Animal Farm, and 1984, performed by Stephen Fry, absolutely fantastic. Please keep liking and subscribing, really appreciate it. I'm going to keep the reviews coming. I'm absolutely loving the reading and the listening at the minute. I always do. So next one will be out very soon. Take care, all the best.